So in terms of the 3 applications which have already been filed, we understand that the final paperwork for those applications will be submitted by Friday, and Advocate Maleka from the legal team actually saying that Jonas and Mentor should prepare for cross-examination next week. But on the tail of that, Advocate Pretoria is standing up, who's head of the legal team, saying we may need more time and that we've already done some scheduling, so it may be a little bit preemptive to say that these people should prepare for cross-examination next week. But what is important is that the chairperson of the inquiry, Deputy Chief Justice Zondo, has said, when I allow cross-examination, I will probably impose some kind of time limit. So he will curtail the time allowed for cross-examination. The use of when suggests that it is only a matter of time before we hear when those inquiries and cross-examinations will take place. But what we also know, which is significant, is that Jacob Zuma and his counsel have not decided on whether or not they will apply for cross-examination, but we do know that counsel for the Guptas are intending on filing an application on Friday to do just that.
Did you say anything around the other possibility that was raised yesterday, which was that if you then insist on cross-examining your accuser, you too should be prepared to be cross-examined over and above what you may have submitted as the true version of the story?
Nothing on that before us as the audience at the inquiry, but there were meetings in chambers. So we don't know at this point what Zondo's take is on that, except for what he said yesterday when Maleka raised this proposal of tit for tat. If you want to cross-examine, you too should stand in the witness box, or sit, as it happens, and be subject to cross-examination. And Zondo then said there's no doubt that that would be preferable. He simply asked if that was what the rules call for, and we're going to have to wait and see what he says on that front.
Okay, let's get to the things that came out today. Your takeaways.
I think what's so significant is how things ended today, the tone of Vytjie Mentor's testimony toward the end of the day, and she will be back in tomorrow along with the 4th witness in the inquiry. But you hear there in what we've just seen, her fear, the tremors in her voice, the kind of anxiety she had around her accommodation at the moment, to the point where Zondo has now said the team needs to move her hotel room and put her up somewhere else for tonight because of her concerns over that door being able to be opened without her access card. So really an escalation of events, an amplifying of her fears, but not only her fears, but the scale of the allegations she's been putting forward in this inquiry under oath. Her talking, for example, about a statement she'd made in the presence of 2 police officers in 2016 when she opened up a case about that controversial Gupta meeting at the Saxonwold compound, and what happened to her witness statement, her saying it was flown in a private jet from the Western Cape to Pretoria and was then in the control of the Hawks. And she said before the inquiry today that a senior Hawks official told her to omit President Jacob Zuma's name from her statement, and what she'd said in that statement about her belief that Zuma and the Guptas had a corrupt relationship. And also, when Zondo asked her about this, she underlined Duduzane Zuma, she alleges, has a corrupt relationship with the Guptas. And so her basically supporting what Jonas had said about the level of interference from the Hawks and how little confidence he had in the credibility of the Hawks at this time.
But also how the Guptas knew things that other people didn't know about the state appointments and so on. Now, a considerable amount of time was spent on Black Hair talking about her meeting with the president and the president trying to calm her down on the back of what she had been exposed prior, before his arrival. Take us through that part of today's proceedings.
So that was this morning, and what was so significant, I think, was the moment she said that line, the president walked into the room, and from there it all tumbled out. What happened between her and Zuma in front of Atul Gupta in the lounge of the Saxonwold property, and her saying by that point she'd gotten quite worked up over being propositioned to become a cabinet minister and an MP, a minister of public enterprises, on these conditions which were laid out by the Gupta brother. Also, very significantly, she said that Atul Gupta disclosed information to her that was confidential, top secret, secret government information about Denel's dealings with Indian companies and the Indian government, which a private individual should not at all have been privy to, and she only knew about because of her position on a committee in Parliament. And so that just shows you on her version the scope, the depth of intel that this Gupta brother had. But she says she'd gotten worked up in this conversation with him, questioning him on whether or not he had the authority or what he was doing, offering her a government position as a minister. And it was then, she says, that the president walked into the room and he went through the process of trying to calm her down. She said she got agitated because instead of dealing what she was telling him about what Atul Gupta had proposed to her, he simply focused on calming her down and dealing with her upset. And he then accompanied her out of the property. She says down those several steps, holding her handbag, which I thought was quite sweet. And as she entered the car that had taken her to the property, he said, "I'm sorry, and we will meet again."
And take care of yourself.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to leave it for now. Erin Bates was, of course, following the events at the state capture inquiry for us.